Apex's future, like within the next 1 or 2 months, is looking pretty strong, and for some reason, there's been more Titanfall tie-ins. Yes, I regret to inform you, there may be more Titanfall hype. So honestly, let's just jump into it. I'm going to talk about the one thing furthest away before we get to closer stuff. The anniversary event. Yes, you may not realize because we're still in 2023, but next season will start once again with an anniversary event, which are usually some of the best seasons ever. Think of season 16. It started off with a really cool anniversary collection event, and they usually come with pretty decent modes or some sort of weird takeover. And to those wanting an heirloom, occasionally you can straight up buy heirloom shards through a collection event with these. We don't really know any more details, I just wanted to mention that because those modes are the best. But season 20 is also going to start off with a pretty big bang, because it seems the next map is going to be out in season 20 as well, and it's going to be one of the most anticipated maps, if not the most anticipated map of all time. Because it's going to be a city, and you may have accidentally turned a blind eye to these teasers, but they've been absolutely everywhere, and some of you may know. They actually started off with the new Stormpoint map update on a whole, it was mentioned a few times there, and then the Watson Town takeover. Its whole use is to restore power to the city that the next map is based in, and also in the Watson Town takeover, there's a picture of the new city, and some of you may know, there's also a picture of the new city map in the new Story from the Outlands. I'm losing my breath. Now, most of you know about those things, but what can we expect from this map? Because honestly, I think the end game of every Battle Royale game is getting a city map. Everybody in every single BR game always asks for one. Well, if we take a closer look at the screenshot of it from the Story from the Outlands and zoom in a bit, we can tell one thing. This is clearly optimized to be an Apex map, and there's a few key details that give it away. First of all, the map is completely bordered, so you can't just walk away. It seems to be bordered by some sort of fog or electricity, I don't really know. But one major thing that makes me completely believe this is the next map is that there is a network of big walls going through this map. If you zoom in, you can see them. There's one going straight through the middle. There's one around this point of interest. And this is usually done in Apex for optimization. If you take a closer look at any map, they are all separated by a wall. It may be a big mountain, but at the end of the day, it still functions as a big wall to help the game run better and help the game flow better. Other than that, this looks extremely dense, so I'm not sure if this is some sort of concept or a final screenshot. It's honestly too low quality to tell, but I am 99% sure at this point that this is a new map. It's been teased everywhere. It was literally teased as of recording yesterday. Again, Sutamo was mentioned, which is where this map is set. It's just crazy stuff. So that's another thing to look forward to. But onto the Titanfall 2 stuff, and weirdly enough, it's intertwined with the story of the stim-addicted old man, Eduardo. But speaking of stim, you know stim gives you an energy boost in Apex and makes you better? Well, what if there was an in real life version? And there is. It's Gamer Subs. Yes, Gamer Subs is a gamer energy drink that's actually cheaper than stuff like Monster, and honestly, I've found a really fun thing to do with it lately. I like mixing it. Lately, I've been experimenting with a flavour that I call Joe Biden's Ashes, which takes 1 scoop of the lean flavour and 1 scoop of the Grandpa's Ashes flavour, and it makes this, which is actually really nice. So if you want to buy some, use code GRRT for 10% off. It helps me in the channel. There's a link in the pinned comment, and also the website just has a load of stuff that you may enjoy, including some really special shirts. So use my code for 10% off and tell me your best mix. But onto the Titanfall stuff, because Eduardo is a known collector of stuff from Titanfall, almost like he's a fan, and recently that's definitely got very interesting because it allows a really strange lore point to happen in Apex Legends. The first time we noticed this was actually 2 years ago nearly, when we found out in Eduardo's mansion he has an experimental Titan that was a concept that was never actually used in Titanfall, confirming its lore existence. But more recently, in the new Story from the Outlands, it was noticed by fans that he actually has the Titanfall 2 time travel gauntlet in his possession, which is huge because in lore it allows time travel in Apex Legends as well. And also it's something Jack Cooper has physically touched. How do we know this? Well, first of all, in one of the Octane lore loading screens released in the new collection event, he mentions a glove with a donut thingy on the top, which, you know, is this. And a few people have suggested that we actually saw a glimpse of it in the Kill Code finale Story from the Outlands, which is very interesting. But that's not the only Titanfall related relic he owns, because this loading screen does also mention that Eduardo is in ownership of the Branthium that Ash stole from Horizon years ago in the lore, which we'll get back to later. And Eduardo also owns a busted battery, which may be the one that gave Conduit her powers, or may also be a sear kit. Maybe Octane mistakenly thought it was a battery, but it was a sear kit, and maybe it's BT's sear kit. That's just a crazy theory from me though. But I think it's pretty interesting that for some reason the time travel gauntlet was brought back into Apex lore. Let's hope it's going to lead into something Titanfall related. I love seeing this type of stuff, and it's not just a throwaway reference. But also in this loading screen, the one thing that makes it very important is that at the same time when Octane is finding this stuff in Eduardo's room, he finds a purple stim, which seems to be an experimental version of stim, or maybe it's GamerSupps lean GRRT for 10% off. And this kind of gives me a crackpot theory that's probably not true, but it could be part of an Octane rework, because Respawn found great success at tying Revenant Reborn's rework into the lore. So imagine this also ties a potential Octane rework into the lore, where he starts using a more potent version of stim and gets new abilities. Although I doubt this because Octane's very high pick rate and there's no reason to really rework him. But that begs the question, what is the significance of this purple stim? We will have to find out. But right now we're speaking very far into the future, so let's go not so far into the future, because we know the next major Apex update is going to be on January the 9th, which is 1 month from now, and it's actually going to be the Final Fantasy crossover event. And we're not 100% sure if this is going to be a collection event. That's still very up in the air at the minute. We'll go over some more evidence about that later. But this will be our second crossover of the season in Apex, which gives me very high hope that the future of Apex contains a lot more crossover content. And it makes sense because Respawn did introduce a whole new rarity for crossover content. And for this event, we don't know any major details, but we do know Wraith is going to get a skin, Octane is going to get a skin, which is actually really nice, and also Horizon is going to get a skin. But who cares about that when they're adding a big sword, which seems to be a very big argument in Apex at the minute, because a lot of people think it's going to be a limited time weapon or something that you can use while this mode is active, and a few people think it could be an heirloom or an heirloom recall of a crypto. And both seem equally likely at the minute, we just don't know what it could be. But the fact that Respawn is willing to experiment so much this season with new crossovers and potential melee weapons is a good sign for Apex, because a lot of people do know it's slowing down at the minute, players are going down. So it's nice to see Respawn kind of go, screw it, let's mess about. And it's clearly working, because I've never seen people so hyped as they are for this Final Fantasy crossover. So comment down below a crossover you would like to see one day. But there's one more thing that's going to change up in Season 20. The lore. The devs did say this season is going to be the last season of the Kill Code Arc lore stuff, which means I guess next season is going to have to start up a new lore point, and it seems Respawn are already teasing it, because if you've played with somebody who plays Horizon a lot lately, you may have actually noticed this. But if Horizon goes AFK, everybody around her can hear her humming a lullaby, which, if you're not aware, kind of ties into the fact that Horizon has lost her son, and she's probably humming it to the thought of him or something. So it does kind of lead everyone to think, now the Revenant Loba lore is coming to a close, thank God it's been so long, get rid of it, I'm bored of it. We're going to get a new lore arc startup, and it's going to contain Horizon and maybe Ash, because in Watson's Town Takeover, there's also many pictures of Ash about, which is weird, but kind of backs up the fact that Horizon may be getting more lore soon, because at the end of the day, Horizon's big enemy is Ash. But the fact that all of this stuff I've talked about within the last 8 minutes is going to come to Apex within the next 1 or 2 months is quite insane, and hopefully helps the player numbers, because all over Twitter, I've been seeing pictures of Apex Legends having less viewers on Twitch than Among Us, the Clash of Clans. How does that even happen? I haven't played Clash of Clans since I was like bloody 12. How? So yeah, let's hope Respawn does keep experimenting more, and it seems they are, because at the end of the day, probably 2 months ago, you wouldn't have expected Respawn to do a crossover of Post Malone and Final Fantasy in the same season. So what are your thoughts on this? And also, use code GRRT at GameSupps for 10% off, link in pinned comment, and subscribe.